Most businesses don't possess a deeper understanding of sustainability. From a broader perspective, a sustainable company is one whose purpose and actions are equally grounded in financial, environmental, and social concerns. Welcome to the Creative Monday Discussion Show. I am your host, Mervin Budram, and we are creatives transforming lives. Welcome back to the Creative Monday Discussion Show. I am your host, Mervin Budram, and I will be with you for the next hour. I am thankful to be back again for another week. I am really grateful for just this opportunity to be with you and to be able to share with you content that will help inspire, motivate, and transform your lives. I want to encourage you, for those who are with us early, go ahead and invite some friends to the screen, to the show. We want to get as much people involved in tonight's show because it's going to be awesome. All our shows are awesome. Tonight's guest it has some amazing content to share with you, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion. I'm also excited right now because we are actually celebrating, and I say we, I wear several hats. My company, Tasbilies, we're celebrating 15 years in business, right? And so it's a whole heap of celebration going on in this studio here. And so we're going to share a little bit more about that later on tonight. But I want to welcome you guys. I want to thank you for tuning in and making the show your show. And if you are new to the Creative Monday Show, this show is an entrepreneurial podcast. It's a live show that brings together inspirational people, individuals who are willing to share their journey, their story, their skill set, their talent with you to help inspire and motivate your business, to motivate and transform your lives. We're bringing tips and business know-how from experiential leaders in the industry, right, from the region. And so I just want to encourage you guys to take notes when you show up to the show. You want to come ready to take notes, ready to learn, also ready to ask questions. And that's where we have our those of you who are watching on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn, you can use the comment section to submit your questions, to join the conversation. And I also want to welcome those who are tuned in on TNC. You guys are welcome, and I'm always excited to have our television audience with us as well. I want to say welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And we know you watch because I think it was a few weeks back, one of our shows didn't make it on television, and we got texts from folks like, we missed the show, what happened, right? So I know you guys are tuned in, so I want to thank you for tuning in. And again, you can join the conversation by sending a WhatsApp message to 501-623-7898, and our team will get your comments and your questions and bring you into the conversation. We want to say greetings to our friends in Caribbean Invest TV, that's in the Europe and Caribbean region, who's watching as well. We want to thank you guys for being a part of the show and for tuning in, as well as those watching the rebroadcast of the show on So I Rise TV, as well as those who will just watch it on YouTube, on our podcast, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and iTunes. As you guys can see, we are everywhere, and we're trying to be everywhere so that we can bring this content to you and give you as many different avenues to receive the content that we're creating, right? Tonight's show is brought to you by Tasbilies Limited, a digital strategic marketing company based here in Belize, and their vision and their aim is to help you tell your story, reach more people, and close more sales.
Are you ready to move your business forward? Are you ready to make an impact? Are you ready to go beyond what is? Hungry for more traffic, engagement, customers? Here is your chance to become more successful in the digital world. With fresh, creative, innovative strategies for your organization's messaging, website, videos, graphics, photos, and sound. Skyrocket your brand's digital identity. We do what works. We do things differently. We learn from you to understand your business needs. Tell your story, reach more people, and close more sales. Contact us now to take your business to the next level. Task Belize, the heart of entrepreneurial innovation.
All right, welcome back, welcome back. And speaking about Task Belize, as I said earlier, we are celebrating our 15 years anniversary as a company, and I can't believe it's been 15 years just like that. And a friend of mine was talking with me, and we were like, where did the time go? Like we just a few years back, I felt like I bought this big headphones, and I had a laptop, and I started the company, and that's kind of how we started, like a big headphones, a laptop, and we started by making radio jingles for companies here in Belize. I took my skill set as a musician and said, okay, what can I do? And we started I remember sitting on a couch. My first jingle, I made it sitting on a couch at my pastor's house. And that was the beginnings of my company. And I do want to thank my pastor. He helped me buy that first headphones. And I also want to thank everyone who has invested and been a part of the task story over the years. And so throughout this week, we want to give and just express our gratitude. And so we're giving back. So you could go to our website, taskbelize.com/birthday. And for every day for this week, we're giving away prizes and surprises and some great resource for entrepreneurs for you. And so if you want to take advantage of that, you can head over there. Even now, today's price is up. It's a free year hosting package for any business who have a website and they're looking for hosting solutions. We're giving a free year hosting solution. So if you want to be a part of that, head over to our TaskBelize website, find that link, anniversary giveaways. That's taskbelize.com/birthday, and sign up for that prize. Well, we want to move forward tonight and introduce our guests. As I mentioned, I'm very excited to have her with us. She actually hails from Jamaica, and she is the founder of Innovative Education and Training Solution, as well as Coaching by Tamu. She focuses on guiding Caribbean entrepreneurs to create and effectively manage high growth, scalability, and innovative ventures. So please welcome to the screen, Dr. Tamu Browne.
Hi. Well,
Hi,
hello
Dr. Tamu.
everybody.
I think, normally I do the intro and I welcome the guests and I start talking and then they're talking. And so like this time I'm going to give you a time to say something as you come in. But welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with me tonight on the show. How are you doing?
Well, I am great. I'm excited to be here with you. We have a great rapport, so I'm looking forward to it. Just a little correction. I am from St. Kitts, not from the
Oh,
lovely island of
wow.
Jamaica.
Thank you.
Hello,
Thank you for the
Jamaica.
correction.
Thank you for adopting me for the night. But hello, St. Kitts and
Awesome.
Nevis.
Awesome. So, it's a pleasure having you. And I wanted to give a little backdrop how we met so that people can, our audience can get a idea of this connection, right? So I'm a part of a program with Beltrade. It's a business of music. And we've been working on kind of just helping to get the music business up in Belize to a next level. We've been having training sessions and it's been awesome. And part of that training was for us to meet with a coach to kind of look over our strategic plan, look over what we're doing and get clarity on it, right? And so Dr. Tamu happened to be my coach and she blew me out of the waters. I just want to say that, like our session, even before our session, when she was doing her presentation, she really brought some really practical tips, some practical lessons to kind of really help us reposition ourselves as we're stepping into this era, right? And then following up with our session, you were able to take all the different things I was doing and kind of just make sense of it. Because everyone knows I have a lot going on and you just brought it in and helped me to make sense of it. And so, I said, I need to get you on the show. I need not just me, but everyone to get this kind of experience from you, right? So that's our backstory and how we met. And it's definitely an honor and privilege to have you on the show with us. So I'm talking a lot. I want you to talk. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Kind of how did you get into the space that you're currently in?
Well, It's really interesting. So in 2012, I actually started another venture, which is still ongoing, which is innovative education and training. So I've always been entrepreneurial. So that venture works at the intersection of education and curriculum design. And I do training, curricular design. I take traditional curriculum and adapt and optimize them for online delivery or hybrid delivery. Now, interestingly, I was doing my doctoral work around 2014, I feel like it was around there. And I actually had another thesis. My thesis was about disruptive innovation. And I was writing, but I felt removed
Yeah.
from my topic. And my chair, Dr. Gamble, she reached out to me and she's like, Tamu, something isn't sitting right. Let's have a conference call. I think you need to revisit your approach. Devastated, let me tell you. At that time, I had just gone through a session, a workshop with a young woman from California. She was visiting St. Kitts. Her name is Ayori Selassie, and she was introducing her innovation, which is called the Life Model Canvas. So, if you're an entrepreneur, you might be familiar with the Business Model Canvas.
Mhm.
And she created this Life Model Canvas, which marries entrepreneurship or whatever your goals are in the entrepreneurial realm with your life. So it's a more holistic tool. And I did that canvas, and everywhere on that canvas, entrepreneurship was popping up,
Mhm.
right? Now, I had been lecturing entrepreneurship, but I had never considered it to be a business idea, right? I was just lecturing, I was just teaching that. But then when I did this life model canvas, I said, I really have a passion for entrepreneurship and female entrepreneurship in particular in the region. And so I changed my entire dissertation, set me back maybe a year or so. Yeah. And I went on to study technology entrepreneurship and how Black women specifically leverage venture capital. How do they get venture capital to grow these huge technology companies? And while I was doing that, it's strange how things work. I began getting requests to do things like coaching, right? Um, World Bank pitch it competition. Someone on the ground, Telly Uno, she invited me to be a coach with that. People started reaching out for training in entrepreneurship. It was like a magnet.
Yeah.
And so, upon completing my doctorate, I actually left my lecturing job and moved into entrepreneurship work. But what I realized is that in our ecosystem, in the Caribbean ecosystem, um, we had to start at the very basic level.
Yeah.
People had great ideas, but they didn't understand how to move their ideas to the type of implementation that would allow them to grow ventures. So we were stuck in that micro entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
cottage industry entrepreneurship. We weren't on shelves, we weren't exporting, we weren't doing these things. And I saw that there was a niche. So that's how Coaching by Tamu came about.
Man, that's awesome. I love that. I love that process that you're in the middle of doing your thesis and then right there made a radical shift. Um,
Radical.
that's amazing. And now I think you definitely hit the nail on the head because it's a huge era right now. You said something just that jumped out to me. People are stuck in the micro. And it's true. Even right now, a lot of business they're able to kind of start and get off, but unable to break out of that micro space into a small business and a larger business, a corporate business stage, right?
Yes.
What have you learned over the years, or what advice you would give to someone watching who is in that space that they're feel stuck and they want to break out? What are some of the first steps that they need to start to make?
I think the first step is a mindset step. And
Okay.
so every conversation that I have, every training that I do, I begin with the mindset because you cannot grow a business if you are not growth oriented.
Mm,
And so often there's a lot of fear surrounding growth. I also would like to tell people that what I have learned is that the best entrepreneurship is the model that suits your future self. And
mm,
so I talk about imagining your future self often. If you can envision what you would want your future life to be and your future self, you can then reverse engineer and create a model for your business that is suitable for that. Now, if your future self, your goals, your aspirations, your strengths are not in alignment with your business model, it will never move forward.
mm,
Another tip I have, I did a lot of work in networks, and I find that particularly women in the region and regional people in general, we do not have a great handle on understanding how to leverage networks for entrepreneurial growth. That is more a US European concept and context. And the research shows that the best businesses are the ones whose founders have a strategic and diverse network.
mm.
The global statistics show that Black people and Black women in particular tend to have very small, dense networks. And this doesn't work well for entrepreneurship because, as you know, with entrepreneurship and to grow, you need newness,
Yeah,
right? So you
yeah,
need new information, you need new doors to open for you, you need a lot of new things that you do not have, nor does your current circle have. And
mm,
so if you remain in that network, so it's called a closed or strong network, where maybe these people are giving you a lot of moral support, perhaps, but that's
mm.
not going to get you to the next level. And so understanding the importance of networks and being able to craft them strategically, this is one of the most valuable tips.
Man, that's awesome. I love that because I think that speaks to where a lot of entrepreneurs are currently at. A lot of us, I mean, I know your focus is on females and black female entrepreneurs, but I think on a whole, entrepreneurs on a whole face that issue where, and what I wanted to ask you, why do you think that's an issue? Because you said black entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs don't have a huge network. And I remember in your training you had mentioned that, and I was pondering on that because, it's something. It's some. I was in Boston and I saw they spent a lot of time talking about networking and they taught us how to network, and it's so true and it is so true. But why would you say in the Caribbean region and in our space on a whole, people struggle with networking and growing our network?
It's cultural, right? And so we are taught socioculturally to kind of stay in your circle.
Yeah.
And so as you want to grow and as you develop, whether it's personally or entrepreneurially, you have to elevate yourself into spheres where people make more money. Maybe they live in different neighborhoods, the good neighborhood with the big house,
Hmm.
neighborhoods. And culturally, we are diminished for wanting to move upwards into these other circles. You know, you might hear the term, who she thinks she be, who
Yeah.
he thinks he be.
Yeah.
And so it's like a cultural norm, and we don't understand that really these networks are tools that you are
Yeah.
leveraging. So I think it's cultural.
Yeah. So, and I'm hoping that through this conversation and those who are watching, that we will be part of those who will change that mindset, that we will celebrate entrepreneurs and celebrate individuals who are aspiring to change and to kind of get into a different circle. It's really so true. It's part of the voices, and I love what you said that we got to get out of that space. We have to have that growth mindset, and it's scary because then you're in a space as well where you got to change. So talk to us a little bit about that transformational process. I know there's a transformational process that we need to go through as individuals, but then also our companies need to go through. How do we manage that change process?
I think setting expectation is important.
Mhm.
And I often tell people that the Caribbean needs its own business models, right? Because our ecosystem is different.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that we often set goals that are not contextually applicable. And we look at, the YouTubers, the
Yeah.
Instagrammers, and their millions of, some of them have more followers than we have people in
That's
our
true. That's true.
on our islands, but
Yeah.
yet still we're using them as models for our transformation and growth. And
Mhm.
so they are not realistic models for our context. They can be inspirational models, but they are not mentor like models. And I think that is important because we consume so much of their content,
Mm.
we lose focus on what is achievable in our context. Now, I also say that this has happened to me, and even now I'm transitioning. In our transition, we want to hold on to the past, right? Because letting go of what you know, who you know, it's like grief.
Yeah.
You feel really bad about it. You feel like you've invested time. You feel like, okay, my friends will think I've shunned them. But your energy has to move elsewhere. Yeah,
Mm.
your energy and sometimes yourself. uh, you have to move elsewhere. I also think that understanding that transformation re- needs teams. Yeah, and that teams do not necessarily have to be large.
Yeah.
I think what happens is that we want to be so big and we think that we have to take on all of these people, change every single thing in our business. But no, it's a phased approach. And understanding that as you grow and as your business grows, your team will also change. And so, this idea of remaining with people who no longer serve your vision is something that we struggle with and that
Yeah.
keeps us from being transformational in our lives and in our businesses.
Man, that is you're speaking. I know, I'm going to say you're speaking to me. I know you're speaking to others, but I guess the question that's coming up for me: how do you balance that? Because generally, generally we have like a family approach. I would say for us as a company, we've had a family approach, and we've had many people pass through the company over the years. How do we balance that in terms of um, knowing how to help someone transition on towards their dreams and their goals, and then knowing when to keep them on in pursuing what our goals and our vision is? Like, what would you say, or how can you speak into that?
Well, before I was coaching by Tamu and all of this thing, I used to lead teams for flagship stores in the US, right? So I worked in the US and I led teams. And what I can say is that both you and the person know that it is not a best fit. The reason that the person remains is because there is a lack of communication.
Mm.
And so instead of having engagement with persons on our team who we know do not fit our future or our present, we instead try to figure out how to fix the situation.
Mm.
Instead of having empathetic discussions about here's where we're going, where do you see your place, if any? And if not, how can I assist you in transitioning?
Mm.
So, a humane approach bolstered by communication and empathy, I think they are critical. And also listening to your other team members, because sometimes they can spot the misalignment much more quickly than you can. And you have to be open to the fact that there's a misalignment and not try to hold on because you're thinking, well, who am I going to get to fill this role?
Yeah.
No, it's best to just let it go.
I love that. Very good. I want to remind those who are tuned in. Let's get some questions in. If you have questions, you want to be part of this discussion, feel free to send it in. We do have a question that came in from Shireen. This is what are some tips to network and elevate yourself?
I think the first thing is to determine the objective of the networking.
Yeah,
So otherwise, you're just talking to people without intention, right? So, for instance, if it is that you want to perhaps seek some funding, right? And you might not have any banking contacts or know anyone in the industry, and you might want to seek advice, you then need to position yourself, whether, let's start with online, since that's really what obtains now, in LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups and conferences, etc., that are aligned with your goal, right? So that you can meet the right people. So it's not just about meeting people, it's about understanding your goal and then determining where are the spaces where these people are, so
yeah,
that I can begin to network with them. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's like a pro tip, whether it's online or face to face. So you have to be in the spaces where they are in order to reach them. So that's my first tip, is understanding what your goal is in the networking. And once in the space, to speak up. So many times we're in spaces,
that's
whether
true.
it's workshops, conferences, especially
Yeah,
now that they're online, you log on and you log off. You
yeah.
never, you should be following the people who are in the conference with you, the speakers. You should be following their social media pages, liking, sharing, commenting, being top of mind, so that they can begin to pull you or think of you when opportunities arise.
I love that. Speak up, and this is that's typically a Caribbean thing. I'm not sure
Yes,
what it's like in St. Kitts. I know in
it's
Belize,
bad.
you ask a question. Does anyone have any question? And there's crickets. There's silence.
Yes,
Right. We
yes.
need to speak up. We need to start craft questions. When we have good questions, we're gonna get. When you have the right question, we're gonna get the answers that we need. And many times we're afraid to ask the questions, and we're afraid to get out there because we're afraid of being wrong. One of the things I've told my staff over the years is, you will make mistakes, you will fail. It's okay. That's part of the learning process. But get out there, ask questions, try and learn from those processes. Right. Dr. Tamu, I want to go back. You said earlier we need to have a growth mindset, right? And then we were talking about the fact that we're looking to these North American content creators and content that we're feeding ourselves. And we don't have enough content in the Caribbean that speaks to where we're at. I'm hoping that this show is filling that need and starting to fill that need. That's one of our goals. But what about someone like myself? You talk about see your future self. I see myself global. I see myself not just regional here and not just local in Belize, not just regional in the Caribbean, but I see myself and what we're doing global. um would you say it's a good advice then to still look to those North American or those other entities that are global and doing it and learning from them? Or what would advice would you give to an individual like me? And I know there's a lot of Caribbean entrepreneurs that they're looking to go global. They're
Mhm.
looking to take their business and what they're doing not just for the region, but especially in this time, something that's global. What input would you give for that?
So, looking at, remember, I said, the North American context is inspirational.
Yeah,
And so we can learn a lot, right? We
yeah.
can learn. I always say, look at, an archetype, right? This is my future self, and this
Hmm.
is maybe how they promote. This is how their content looks.
Hmm.
All of the things that are, going to propel you forward. What might not work is trying to use the same distribution channels,
Gotcha.
right? Maybe the customer segments might be different. So it's not so much about not not using them and not consuming them, but the core elements of the business model, like segments, like distribution channel, maybe the revenue model, those elements might be different. So I do believe that yes, you should, once again, I'm about intention, right?
Yeah.
So when you are consuming whatever, it's to what end? So you're saying, okay, for me, coaching by Tamu, I want to have Tamu TV. And so I've been watching everything Mervin has been doing. I'm like, oh, that's how his backdrop looking. Oh,
Yeah.
that's how. So it's the same thing, but understanding that the strategy mechanism for you to get to where you're going globally may not look the same, is
Mm.
unlikely to look the same as a North American entrepreneur. For instance, in the Caribbean, because our voice is not as amplified, it's unlikely that if we post and say we have tickets, our stadium, wherever you're performing in the US, is unlikely to sell out from a
Yeah.
post just because of the nature and the volume of the followers,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
We might still have to use the producer route, but the goal is still the same. Now, what are the people who are selling out these stadiums in North America? What does their production look like? What do their
Mm.
teams look like? So you have to be able to um, disaggregate the pieces that work for you while understanding that the root, which is the actual business model that gets you there, will not be the
Look
same
this
as
one.
in the North American context.
I love that. I love that. You've been talking a lot about goals tonight. So let's go there. Help us and help those viewing understand the power of goals and how to set smart goals, and how to really, because one of the challenge I know I've had, and over my years, is you have these strategic plans, you have the goals, and then they stay on a paper, and you get caught up into just the day in day out grind of getting stuff done, and you're not looking at the goals, um you're
Yeah.
not really pulling on it. Then you kind of come to acquire that, oh yeah, the goals, and you kind of look at it again. And so how would you advise someone, or how would you speak to someone in a situation like that, in how to kind of come out of that and really make those strategies and those goals work for you?
We all suffer from that. The other day I was like, what happened to being a technology entrepreneurship
Yeah.
guru? Tell me, what happened to that, right?
Yeah.
But what I would say is that um, I think that your goals need to be on your wall. Let's
Mm.
start there, right? I think what's not visible
Oh, I love that.
is ignored. I mean, because our life is so frenetic.
Mhm.
And so I think that actually using it doesn't have to be all fancy like a business model canvas, a piece of manila paper stuck up on your wall where you can see your big goals, right? And I would say, I think we suffer from, because we are entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship is creative,
Yeah.
we suffer from so many ideas that I know it's a strange
Yeah.
thing to suffer from,
Yeah.
but we have so many ideas that we want to implement that it gets us, keeps us
If I
strained.
can interject, I'll give you a simple example of that. So we're putting together our campaign for the giveaways for the business, and I'm sitting there for 20 minutes, literally trying to craft the right language and work on the landing page. And my wife came. I'm like, just keep it simple. Like it doesn't need to be over like complicated. Just keep it
Yes.
simple, right? And so yeah, so I totally get that.
Yes. So we suffer from that. And so if you see the goal, right? And we have too many goals now. So we had to narrow them down now to, like, at least just like 2 to 3 major goals. And I would say for me, what I've started doing is isolating one goal per quarter that
Mm,
gets me to, or whatever works for you, the bigger goal. You
mm,
see? And then you stick the big vision and the quarter goal, and you can see that, because otherwise we get lost. I've
Yeah.
It has happened to me. So I also think that what is a smart goal last year might not be a smart goal this year.
Yeah.
And so the idea of the academic concept of SMART goals, which I know as being like a management lecturer, I don't know that they're helpful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that what is SMART is what aligns with your future self, what you want to achieve in a phased way. That's what
Yeah.
I think is SMART. And I think also that if you do have a business model, a life canvas, whatever is the tool that you use to keep your mind right, um, to have you see the big picture. Maybe you're visual, like if you're a creative, maybe it's that vision board or whatever. But I feel like they need to be front and center. And it's not just my feeling. Like there is research that shows that like taking notes on a computer does not have the
Mm.
same retention and comprehension as writing. And so
Yeah.
as we move into this digital space where we're snapshotting and we want to do vision boards on our phone and put our
We're
goals
losing.
on a productivity app, that's not working. Nah?
Mm.
That's not working. And we know it's not working. Like I'm sure
But
we've
we're
all
still
tried.
pushing it.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You have to see it. So you get up, you see it. You go to change your clothes, you see it. Like it's there, front and center. So, and what I've done too, like I have my life model canvas that I spoke about, and I blew it up, so it's like huge,
Mm.
right? So it's huge. So it's not like a little 8.5 by 11 paper. So I go to the copy store and I make a huge copy of the blank canvas, and so I just looked at it. The one I had last was 2016. And, I'm going to be revisiting that and I'm going to stick it up in my space. So I think visual is
I
important.
love that.
And smart is what's smart for you.
Now, and for you, yeah. I love that. I think that definitely resonates with me and resonates with our audience. We have a question that came in from Andrea Rodriguez. If we can get that up, she's asking, the network is indeed essential. What are some ways we can build our network?
Uh-huh. Well, first you need to do a network audit. And that is a list of all the people in your network already, right? You can do it by, like, let's say if you have some business goals, you can do it by that. Who can help me with these goals, etc. Now, remember I spoke about intentionality when building
Hmm.
networks. So you want to look at your audits, your network audit, or your network inventory is a better word, right? And you want to begin to see how these people who you already know, who are warm contacts or hot contacts, how can they get you into their networks?
Mm.
That's an easiest route because you already have like their blessing, right? You
Yeah.
already have, people are going to welcome you more warmly. So I think perhaps having conversations initially with people who are already in your network, who are connected to bigger networks that you want to be in, and letting them know these are my goals. I want to learn more, right? I want to learn more. What can I do? And they'll be like, girl, dude, I attend this thing every quarter. Let me send you the link. Or
Yeah.
that's an easy way because these people already know you, right? So that's one of the first things that you can do, a network inventory, and then being ushered into these people who already know you,
Yeah.
their networks. I also think that it's important to understand that network building is a long game. Is
Mhm.
not no small short sport. It's a
Yeah.
long thing. Like remember when we used to have test cricket? Not like 20 overs cricket, days cricket. That's like network building. And so what you are never to do is ask first.
Yeah.
Don't ask people for no favors yet. Them ain't know you yet.
Hmm.
right? So you have to go in, you have to show how you can be of value, whether it's your intellect, whether it's your circle.
Yeah,
And then, the relationship begins to build organically. So a no is, don't go and be asking upfront for
yeah.
things. You have to prove yourself first.
Bring your skill set to the table, serve, offer, and then it will be give and it shall be given unto you. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
Andrea made a comment, says so true, was just having a conversation about this. The Caribbean is different. I'm not sure if she's saying
With
Andrea,
networking.
yeah, are you saying, Andrea, that the Caribbean is different in networking, or uh, can you give us a little bit more insight on that comment? But it's true. Networking, and again, I mentioned, I learned this a little bit more when I went to Boston. I learned some of this as well from my dad. My
Ah,
dad was a crazy networker. He knew everyone, like at every level. He's
mhm,
working with the guys on the ground. He's working at guys in administration. Administration. He would take time to sit with people after work and just talk and
mhm.
just hear their story, hear them out, right? And so I learned a lot about networking. He used to do this thing with me. I would go. He had a tire shop, and I would go in the tire shop, and everyone who comes, he would take me and put his hand on my head and say, "This is my boy Mervin. Mervin, you need to know Mr. Buck, or Mervin, you need to know
Yes.
this person."
He
And he used to,
ushering you in.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't even realize those were he was teaching me about networking back then, right? So it's
Yes.
I'm sharing that to say, even for parents and for those
Yes.
who have kids, it's important that we start to train our kids and bring them into that arena even from now and prepare them for their future and their journey, right? Um,
Mhm.
Dr. Tamu, I was just preparing for the session, and here's a statistics that I found, and it's true. It says approximately 20% of new business fail during the first 2 years of being open, 45% during the first 5 years, and 65% during the first 10 years. Only 25% of new business make it to the 15-year mark. So I was excited because I'm like, I'm in the 15-year mark. We still have longer to go, but it's true. It's been a very interesting journey. There's been a lot of challenges. Many times I was ready to shut down because it just got hard. Not just
Yeah.
hard, but it just felt like things were drying up and transition needed to happen. And then every time we kind of got a new burst of energy to take the next step forward. But talk to us about sustainability. And I know tonight the topic was sustainable business models, and people are thinking environmental and all these different things. That's part of it in the community. But how do we build a company, a business that will last, that we can say it's legacy? Our kids can come back and say, "Hey, I, I remember growing up, and we're running the business now." So, what
Mhm.
are some of the mindsets we need to embrace? And I know we talk about the growth mindset, but what are some practical things that we need to be thinking about as entrepreneurs as we're building out our business for a long haul?
I think that I made my notes about that. And one of the things is, well, we spoke about mindset, but specifically working on your self efficacy.
Mm,
So, your self efficacy is
mm,
um, your confidence in your knowledge and implementation in a specific space or knowledge area, right?
mm,
And so I think that what happens often is that we fail to continue to hone our craft.
mm,
We fail to continue to learn new things. So, another way to remain sustainable or be sustainable is to always ensure that you understand what is emerging.
mm,
Huh? And now the cycle between the old and the emerging is becoming shorter and
mm,
shorter. And how can you be sustainable if you are still creating a business model based on trends or knowledge or systems that will be obsolete in 3 to 5 years? It's not
yeah,
making sense
yeah.
because then you're investing in obsolescence.
Mm,
And so, sustainability, especially today, has to do with understanding how am I going to be agile and to pivot in this fourth industrial revolution where things are moving so quickly.
Yeah.
And so, if we tie it back to that first point of self efficacy and understanding our strengths and our competence, we can only have self efficacy if we become competent in what's emerging.
Mm,
So I think that, particularly today, innovation, the ability to be agile, and the ability to understand how to create opportunities out of what is emerging, I feel like these are the new pillars for sustainability.
I love that. And I guess the natural question would be, where do we go for that? Where do we go to find those spaces? Because sometimes when things are emerging, you hear about it after. It's kind of like, so, oh, that happened, like, oh, you're always kind of one step behind. So
Yeah.
is there any way, what do you suggest, or where do we go to kind of be in the leading environment of emerging ideas, emerging resources, emerging tools that's coming out?
The thing is that luckily, let me tell you, Google is there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's if I have to ground my answer would be that it goes back to that same point, being a genius in your space.
Yeah.
And to be a genius in your space, you have to be constantly studying, researching, reading, learning about what's in your space. Sign up to the newsletters, join a clubhouse group. If
Mhm.
you hear something like, the metaverse, I'm all over the metaverse now. My brother was like, "You're very bullish on the metaverse, man." But I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm not an expert, but now I'm in the clubhouse, joined the group on the metaverse, right? And so you have to understand that you want to be the genius in your space,
Mhm.
and genius requires work, it requires research, it requires knowledge, and understanding that you now begin to figure out in your network inventory, network again, who might be the people in the know
Mhm.
or who can point you to the resources. So we just have our network languishing, but
Mm.
sometimes they're in the know. You might have a tech expert. You might, like Mervin, for you, I could see a whole virtual reality concert.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, when something sparks, once you know what's emerging, it doesn't have to be emerging in your field. It has to be emerging mainstream, for
Yeah.
instance. So, like virtual reality as mainstream, it's going to be mainstream. The metaverse, now that Facebook has adopted the whole concept, there were metaverses before Facebook, but you will never know, right? Because,
Yeah.
Facebook is mainstream. So now what you need to do is understand just conceptually what this is about. And your innovation as an entrepreneur will immediately provide you with ideas on how you can
Utilize that.
use the new tool in
It's good.
your lake of genius.
Love it. I really love that answer. And again, for those tuned in, I want to encourage you guys. We want to maximize our time with Dr. Tamu. Definitely getting some great resource and some great tips and lessons here. Please, if you have questions, I want to encourage you, submit them. We have about 10 more minutes to go before we wind down for the show. And we do want to prioritize the questions from our guests. Dr. Tamu, I want to kind of go back as we're winding down. You mentioned it earlier, it came up again just now, and I just want to talk about the life model canvas and how important that is. And then is there, where can we find that? Is that something online we can find it? How can people take advantage of that? What it is, kind of give us a little deeper understanding of how it works.
All right. So the life model canvas is similar to a business model canvas. So it has all of these elements on the canvas that you consider in order to craft the intersection of life and entrepreneurship that works for you. So, for instance, they're about like, what are your challenges to reaching your goal? What are your goals in the entrepreneurial area, in your family area, in maybe your spiritual area? What are your moonshots, like this
Yeah.
grand vision, and what might be preventing you from getting there? And so these are some of the elements. The founder is Ayori Selassie, Ayori Selassie with two S's. And if you just Google Life Model Canvas, you will be able to find a free downloadable, and with the instructions and everything. She also does have, I noticed, one that you can do on the phone, but I've already told you the the research on that. So
Yeah.
but everyone is a different learner. So,
Yeah.
learning styles differ. But for me, why I love the Life Model Canvas, it is the only tool that I have found that really melded both work and just like life,
Hmm.
right? And it allows you to examine areas of resistance that you might not have considered. And because you have examined these areas of resistance and you can see if your goals are in alignment across categories, it provides you some really serious information on yourself laid out visually that you can really begin to do a lot of introspection on. I know it changed the entire trajectory of my
Yeah.
life.
And that's awesome. And I definitely will look that up, and I want to encourage our audience to look it up. We normally post on Fridays a kind of summary overview of each show and a podcast version, and we're going to look it up and put a link to it in that post as well, so that people can find it, because we want to provide you with resources and tools to help move your business to a place where your business is working for you and where it's growing and it's healthy, right? And so that's kind of what we're hoping, that some of these content will help you in your own journey. Dr. Tamu, as we're wrapping up, we have about 5 more minutes to go. I wanted to hear a little bit about you have a mentor to millions initiative. I
Yes.
wanted to hear a little bit about that. If it's still going, if it's still on, and I know you're doing a lot of work with female entrepreneurs, and you're giving back to the community in that kind of capacity. If you could talk to us a little bit of some of those work that you're doing.
Well, I've had this mentor to millions idea forever, right? And what I want to do, so I'm beginning it in earnest. Remember, we talk about pulling yourself back.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling myself back, and I'm beginning in earnest in 2022. And what the Mentor to Millions initiative is I want to simultaneously engage in action research with at least 10 Caribbean entrepreneurs who I want to provide resources, experiential opportunities, networks with mentors, and things that I've learned from my experience and research in order to see them to $1 million in revenue. So
Mm,
I'm basically crafting a research study that I believe will have excellent insight. There is no such thing in the Caribbean. When we
yeah.
talk about $1 million businesses, especially solopreneurs or small teams, nobody's talking about us. Nobody, there's no Caribbean context on that. There's
Yeah.
no research on that. And I thought that melding the research with the action, yeah. And
Yeah.
so what I've realized is that I don't believe that this will be like a traditional business model. I do not see it as something that I can make money. I probably can, if I put my mind to it, make money from. But I feel like it's important for
Yeah.
our community to have lessons from our people
Yeah.
in our context about what is possible in
Yeah.
terms of being multi-millionaires. And so that is a way that I'll be giving back, doing that work. And people who know me know that, listen, if you want to know anything, call Dr. Tamushi. Gonna coach you through for nothing, right? Right? It's the truth. My son
Yeah.
always tells me when we are in town, oh gosh, mommy, don't get to doing corner coaching. He's like, you just corner coaching, right? And
Yeah,
people call me up out of the blue and, about education, models for their children, etc., and all sorts of things. So that's the Mentor to Millions initiative. So it satisfies my love of research and data and my love of seeing my Caribbean people just blossom.
I love it. I really, really appreciate it. I have one. I was just about to wrap up. I saw one more question
Okay,
coming.
great.
Is and actually, it's a question. It's what I was about to ask as well. But is this
Ah,
initiative open, or will it be a specific group? Like, how can people who are interested? Because you said you're going to work at 10. How can
yeah.
people get access to that?
Well, send me an email at tamucoaching@gmail.com. I'm still fleshing out, how it's going to work, but I definitely will have some criteria. But you have to just be growth oriented and ready to make $1 million.
Well, look out for an
Look
email
out
from
for an
me.
avalanche. Yeah.
Look out for
I,
an email from me. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So,
think it's awesome. I think this is a great initiative, and I agree with you. We need to see more examples from the Caribbean. I know that's been one of my also passion, one of those desires within me that I wanted. As I was meeting with my coach at the beginning, I said I want to be able to be an example of a Belizean that has made an impact globally. And I grew up in Belize. I didn't grow up in the States. I didn't grow.
right.
I grew up in Belize. I come from a small community in Danriga, and to have a global impact, that's one of my desire and one of my goals, to say that it is possible. That it doesn't matter where you were born or where you come from. If you're willing to, what you're saying, have that growth mindset, you're willing to change, and you're willing to pursue your dreams and goals, you can achieve and you can do great things in this world. Dr. Tamu, it was a pleasure, pleasure, pleasure having you. I wish we had more time. I have lots more questions that I didn't even get to, but that's okay. That's kind of how the show goes. In closing, any final comments that you would like to leave our audience with?
I think in closing, I want to tell Caribbean people that unlike what our society and culture tell us, that it is okay to pivot, and that when something does not work, it is not failure, it is
Mhm,
research and development.
mhm. I love it. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you. Really appreciate your insight and just for you to give freely to our audience tonight. Guys, I want to encourage you, go and find Dr. Tamu on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram. Take advantage of the opportunities, zip her an email and stay in touch with her. I just want to thank you as well for tuning in tonight. Thank you for making the Creative Monday Discussion Show your show. We are winding down actually for the year. We have two more episodes, and then we're done for season 5, and then we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back. Sorry, we'll be done for season 4. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with season 5 early next year. I just want to also just take this opportunity to thank my team behind the scenes. I have a wonderful team that's working with me to make the show happen every week, and I want to take the time to thank them. My wife Ruth, who's the producer of the show, Miss Jillet Kimana Jillet, who does all the project coordination, liaising with our guests, and just doing all the behind the scenes logistics for the show. Joshua, who does our tech work, our video editing work, and Shireen, who does all our social media posting as well as our articles. I just really want to thank all these guys for working with us and making the show happen every week. It's wonderful. I'm really grateful. My heart is full because of we've been able to achieve this show, and we're in a year we've been able to grow the show in a year, and we keep pushing forward to new avenues, to new heights. We will be back again next week. I want to thank TNC as well for taking the show and broadcasting it on television, for Caribbean Invest TV and Soar Rise TV as well for carrying this show. Big thank you to the Creative Monday community, for you guys for tuning in weekly, for sharing with your friends. We want to say that I trust that you're inspired, you're motivated, and you're transformed. And we will say good night. God bless you, and we will see you again next week. Remember to treat every day like it's a Monday. God bless you.